All right, welcome back. I'm back for part two of the birthing experience. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you've seen the other videos where, like I said, I talk about the pregnancy, the first month, the first couple of months, the last couple of months, and then now we're on the birthing experience. I've already given you like 20 minutes of a dissertation on the other part, so I'm gonna try to finish this without making it as long, but it's gonna be a little long because technically your girl went through 30 hours of labor, so therefore this is a long story. And of course I'm trying to tell it really quick while he's asleep and I don't have to worry about any interruptions. So let's get back at it. Okay, so when we left off at I think it was like 5 centimeters. We're in the epidural. I already got that. A couple hours later, epidural is wearing off, on and off. I think I had to get at least maybe 3 to 4 extra shots of it. I paid for the drinking of the liquids, even though I sipped really, small. But eventually, because I hadn't eaten anything, about the third time they had to give me medicine, nothing on my stomach. I've been there almost at this point. I had been there almost the whole day because I started in labor. I started labor around 10, and by the time I threw up, it probably was about 8 o'clock that night, something like that. And so no food on the stomach, all those strong meds. Ended up throwing up a little bit. Hadn't thrown up since I was in the hospital. When I was about 2, almost 3 months pregnant with him. So, of course, it wasn't fun having to feel that feeling again, but I was glad to get the feeling up off of my stomach or whatnot. So then now the good thing about the epidural, which helped me, remember I talked about the finger check part, which to me was definitely one of the most dreaded parts of the birthing experience. What helped it not be so bad was once the epidural comes in, where you're numb from the waist down. Basically, not super numb, but numb enough. And when they would stick their fingers in there, all I felt was pressure, but it didn't hurt. So it really didn't matter anymore. Like, I was able to open my legs and not do all the closing and fighting back and stuff. Like, it just didn't bother me. And then I was just so out of it from tired and being in pain. Because even when I was still feeling pain, the epidural worked enough to where I didn't really feel anything up there but pressure. It really didn't hurt. If you get what I mean, if you understand. So finally it's about 10 o'clock at night, maybe. And I think I'm probably about 7 centimeters. And I'm like, look, I'm tired. It's been a whole day. I don't know if I can keep doing this. And at this point, now my cramps are definitely strong. They're getting lower in my abdomen. They're more intense. I'm having them every a minute at least, maybe even 30 seconds to a minute. And it's just weighing down. It's just wearing me out. I'm tired. At this point, I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. I'm ready for him to come. Please, can we hurry? Can hurry up? I'm like, oh my God, like it's just so bad. So like I said, I'm about 7, and they're like, well, you can do it. He's head down, blah, blah, blah. You just have to push through it. Baby's fine. Baby's just waiting on you, blah, 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 right? So I'm like, look, in a minute, I'm ready to just go ahead and do a cesarean. It was like, okay, well, let's give it to 1 o'clock. You're 7. By 1 o'clock, you should definitely be having this baby, right? You should definitely be having this baby. And I'm like, all right. Gets to 1 o'clock. Now, by then, I'm having what's the worst types of contractions. These are the ones that feel like he's ready to come out, but also like you have to go number 2. So the pressure's intense. I'm over there literally. It got to a point I didn't care anymore if anyone saw me go on myself because I just wanted the pressure gone. So it got to a point where I was literally trying to push it out. It never came out though. My mom kept saying like, Adrian, nothing's gonna come out. And I'm like, no, it's got to. It hurts. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad. So we get to 1 o'clock. She does the check. I'm still only like 8 centimeters. So I'm like, look, I'm ready. Please, take him now. It's just hurting too bad. I can't anymore. And they're like, you're right there. He's fine. Baby's heartbeat is fine. Now, mind you, I'm looking at his heartbeat, and it's going up every time I have contractions. That's how I know I'm having contractions, even if I don't feel them with the epidural at one point. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I could, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I really didn't want to go under the knife, but at this point, I was in so much pain I didn't care. So I'm like, all right. They come and they check me at 3 o'clock. Now, they done put the peanut in between my legs. I done switched sides. I done turned. They poke, prodding, trying to check. You know what I'm saying? They come back at 3. I'm 9.5 centimeters. I'm like, I can't do this. I must. You must take him. You must. I want a C-section. I want a cesarean. I want it now. I can't. I'm tired. Even if he does get to 10, where's my energy to push? And then I could get to 10, and it still take hours to push him out. His head's not huge, but it's big enough. Trust me. So, and then they kept saying he was coned as it was with it, like his head was a little cone shaped. So I'm like, just please, can we just do a cesarean? And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, it's been over 24 hours. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. It's like he's curved. They tell him he's curved up in there. He's head down, but it's still like he's not ready. Just please. So I still had to wait, even after that, 2 whole more hours before I could damn near get into the room because someone else was already having a cesarean and they only had one anesthesiologist on shift. So I had to wait for him to get done with her and then come see me. Then when he gets there, I have the epidural in my bag, but he's telling me, well, I keep hearing that it's kind of wearing off and, we can't afford that. So I might have to take that out and do a spinal. I'm like, whatever you got to do, I don't care. Do it. So they do the little nose swab and stuff like that for the, to make sure, it's kind of a COVID precaution at this point. But of course, you're going in an environment that is sterile, but they want to just lessen because when you're going under the knife, you're more susceptible to infections. So they give me that. They cut off the Pitocin. They try to let it get out of my system a little bit while we're waiting on the doctor to come back. To be able to do the spinal thing. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard that. But I had to make sure he wasn't throwing up or anything. But yeah, so they get me back. They finally get me back, and I'm just like, I'm a little emotional too because I'm tired and I didn't really want to, do it this way. But in my head, I'm like, I know they're telling me that he's okay, that it's just me, but I'm like, he's been in there too long. It's been, at this point, almost 30 hours. It's been basically 30 hours. And, it's time for him to come out, for, I felt like, my health and for his. So we get in there. The doctor does the spinal thing. It doesn't completely make you like numb. Like you still feel things, but you can't really feel them. And because I was like, I still kind of feel you guys touching on me. I thought I wasn't feeling anything. He was like, no. He was like, we're putting a solution on you now. Is it hot or cold? And I said, it's warm. They said, okay, it's working, because apparently it was cold. They was like, so the medicine's doing what it's supposed to do. But then it started doing this thing to where I was shaking, like like this, and I couldn't stop. And they have you like all stretched out and whatnot. And it's like, damn, I can't move. I'm trying to stay still. I feel like I'm having withdrawal or something. And they put the little thing up over you. They made him get dressed. They, it's his little white suit and, coveralls outfit. He came in, he held my hand, and we, they started to take him out and everything. And when they took him out, I didn't hear him cry. And I heard her say something like, oh, you look like you wanted to cry, but you're not. And then, you know, she kind of got quiet, and I could hear him trying to, like, you know, do this and pat on his back and kind of get him stimulated. And basically what had happened was he had swallowed some meconium. You know, he'd been in there for a minute. And I think with all the stress, he had swallowed some meconium. And so they had to suction that out of him, kind of resuscitate him again. And so basically, they ended up having to take him to NICU. When I saw him, he had a little, you know, tube down his throat, and you know, whatever, that intubated him. I only saw him for like 5 seconds, and then they just whisked him and Dad off to NICU. And then they sewed me back up, and you know, you could feel him tugging. Like even when before they took him out, like you could kind of feel them moving around, and then I could feel them like pulling and trying to wiggle him out. And they were like, yeah, he was kind of tight up in there. They even said like he wasn't going to come out naturally. You know, it would probably happen anyway. And I'm glad I did it when I did, because apparently it swallowed some stuff. And it could have been worse, you know, if I'd have kept going more and more hours, because at least by hour 30 for sure, he had swallowed it. And who knows how long before he had maybe swallowed it, if it wasn't right then at hour 30. So imagine 4 more hours of that, you know, it could have been really bad. But yeah, so they sewed me up or whatever. They did the little liquid bond, and, oh Lord, that process, that first hour afterwards, for every first 15 minutes, they have to keep pressing down on the area to make sure there's no like gas buildup, that you're not leaking through anything. And that shit was the worst too. Like it was like, damn, you know, I wasn't really feeling any pain because I was still like with the spinal, but it was wearing off. So like I'd feel that pain. Like it was really, really uncomfortable. And so yeah, like the first hour or so they had to do that. And finally when they took me over to postpartum, I think they did it one more time, maybe twice, and then thank God they didn't have to do that again. But yeah, so that was, excuse me, sorry. That was my birthing experience. Like I said, I definitely want to do it live so I can kind of talk back and forth with some of you moms, some of you dads, like your experience with the moms. You know, like of what you went through, because I think both sides experience. Some dads aren't active, some are. Mine was like in between, because he was tired, and then of course it was so long, you know. And then we had the other 2 kids that he had to, you know, make sure we're okay and whatnot. But he made sure like me and my mom were good. You know, he made sure he went and got her stuff, you know, food and stuff. So she didn't have to necessarily go down to the cafeteria, and, you know, definitely supportive, you know, but it was definitely, it's a traumatic experience, but you know, it doesn't have to be all traumatic, and the whole thing wasn't traumatic, but a good enough portion of it was, to the point where I'm definitely settled in my mind. I don't think I want to go through that again, especially in my age. I'm getting older. You know, people are like, oh, you're 40, you don't look 40. I know, but my body's 40. And so, you know, I have to be careful with that, putting my body through something like that, traumatic. And if I have to go through surgery again, you know, healing processes are not the same the older that you get. I'm very thankful because my healing process wasn't bad. You know, I never busted a stitch or anything, thank God, but it was a process. I'm definitely gonna do a video on that, and that's gonna be like kind of my afterbirth video, just kind of like on my progress of the first couple of weeks, you know, being in the hospital the first week, bringing him home, and kind of like what I had to like go through, healing, lifting up, moving around, the pain, blood pressure issues, all that stuff. The no sleep. The no sleep almost took me out. Like literally, it does something to you. Like it does something. Postpartum is so real. It's so real. And I'm blessed that it didn't get bad as I've heard it could get so far. But yeah, it's real. It's real. But I'm already at my 15-minute mark. I want to keep it there. If you guys like the video, like, of course, hit that like button. If you want to keep getting, alerts on new videos, of course, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. Anyone who just sits down and even just listens to the journey. I know I'm not super exciting, but I'm tired. I'm a mom. Like I said, 3 kids. I'm doing this video now because he's actually quiet and he's not super loud. And I don't have to really necessarily attend except look over here in his bassinet and just make sure he's okay and breathing, which you're going to always do as a mom. Is always check and make sure the breath is going up and down. I'm doing that 1,000 times a day, if not more. But yeah, I appreciate you guys just for even staying this long in this video. If you skipped, I understand because I am a long-winded talker. But once again, like I said, it's a 30-hour experience. So trying to take 30 hours and compress them into, technically what these videos are going to be about, almost 40 minutes long. But 20 minutes a piece, but 40 minutes altogether, just a birthing experience. Yeah, it's kind of hard to put 30 hours into just 40 minutes. But like I said, I want to do a live so I can even, go more into depth into it and not make the videos too long. And like I said again, thanks for joining, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.